Welcome, friends. My name is Miss Noreen, and I will be with you today for another exciting lesson in ELA. So today's lesson focus is ELA Grade 3, Module 8, Lesson 3, Into Reading, Imagine, Invent. The lesson objectives: recognize the central idea in a text, identify supporting evidence for the central ideas. So let's get started. What is the central idea? Well, the central idea is what the text is mostly about. Again, let's say this together. The central idea is what the text is mostly about. Now, there are special clues that we look for when we are trying to figure out the central idea of a text. Those clues that we look for are headings, visuals, first or last sentence, and repeated words. What are they again? Headings, visuals, first or last sentence, and repeated words. The formula for finding the central idea. It's very simple. We look at the subject or the topic of a text, and we also look at what the author says about the subject or topic. That's also known as supporting details because they provide support to the central idea of a text. Here are some tips for finding the subject or the topic of a text. We look at the title or the heading. We look at the first sentence, or we look at keywords or repeated words or names. So let's practice finding the central idea of a text. Now watch me as I try to find the central idea and supporting details of this short text. I'm going to read it from beginning to end. Greeting cards. Americans love to send greeting cards. For instance, over 4 million birthday cards are sent out in this country every day. Around Valentine's Day last year, over 900 million cards were mailed, and close to 3 billion holiday greeting cards were sent out during the Christmas season. Now, what is the central idea of this passage? Let's go back to it. I'm going to look at it one more time, and I'm going to try to figure out what is the central idea of this passage. Now, I keep seeing the words greeting cards being repeated. I see in the title of the text, I look at my first sentence and it tells me Americans love to send greeting cards. And I see that the rest of the sentences tell me about different types of greeting cards which are sent by Americans every year. So, based on that information, I know that the subject or topic is greeting cards. I know that the central idea is that Americans love to send greeting cards. Now, the rest of these sentences, they are my supporting details. They give me more information about what types of cards Americans love to send. So here's a recap. The subject is greeting cards. The central idea is Americans love sending greeting cards. The supporting details are 4 million birthday cards are sent out in this country every day. Around Valentine's Day last year, over 900 million cards were mailed, and close to 3 billion holiday greeting cards were sent out during the Christmas season. That was an awesome job that we just did trying to figure out the central idea of this passage and also locating the important supporting details which support that central idea. So let's try this together now. I need your help for this. Here is a passage that we will read together and try to figure out the subject, the central idea, and the supporting details. So I want you to listen very carefully and track along as I read the passage. What does a crow know? What does a crow know? Crows are much more clever than you might think. For example, crows actually make their own tools. They do this by bending wire or making sticks sharp. Crows have also been known to remember people's faces. This can help them warn other crows about people who might hurt them. Crows also make changes to fit in with a group. For example, when a crow moves from one group to another, it might change the way it caws. Caws means the sound that a crow makes. It does this to better match the sounds that the crows in the group make. What is the central message of this passage? So to do this, let's go back to this passage and let's really take a look at it. The first thing I want to look at is my title, which is right here. So what does a crow know? This is telling us that this is going to give us information about what crows know. So our subject is about what crows know. Now I'm looking at this passage and I want to look at the first sentence because the first and the last sentence are very important. The first sentence says, crows are much more clever than you might think. The last sentence says, it does this to better match the sounds that the crows in the group make. In between, I see sentences about what crows do. They make their own tools. They have been known to remember people's faces. They can make change to fit in with a group. So what is that telling me? What is the central message or central idea that the author wants me to know about my subject, which is crows? I'm going to give you a few minutes to think about this. And in your notebooks, I want you to jot down, what is the subject? What is the central idea? And what are the supporting details that support that central idea? Take a few minutes, pause this video, and come back to check if your answers were correct. Welcome back. So if you have these answers in your notebook, that means you did a superb job in finding the central idea of the story. Now, what was the subject of this text? It was what crows know. What is the central idea? That crows are clever birds. And what are some supporting details that support this central idea? That they make their own foods, they remember people's faces, they change to fit in groups. Awesome job with finding the central idea and the supporting details. So now it's time for your independent work, boys and girls. We practiced finding central ideas together. Now it's time for you to go ahead independently and apply the same strategy we just learned about finding central idea to your independent work. Today, for your independent work, you will be reading independently. You will track your reading. You will try to figure out what is the subject or topic, what is the central idea of the text, and what are the supporting details in your text. You can use this chart as a reference to help you. Remember, the central idea is what the text is mostly about. Say that with me, boys and girls. The central idea is what the text is mostly about. To help you figure this out, you are going to look for text clues. Those text clues include headings, visuals, the first or last sentence, and any repeated words. This will help you become successful in locating the central idea and the details in a text. Thank you so much for watching, boys and girls. This is Miss Noreen logging off. Happy learning.